I hope everybody's doing good today on this hot Thursday. Oh man, is it hot out there. Bring me back to January, please. I know, not popular opinion, but still. Sweating in here in the studio. 844 Studio 4. That's 844-788-3464. If you want to call in, you're listening to the Scoreboard here on WSIC. We're going to talk about all of your sports, whether it's high school, college, pros, local, regional, national stuff. I don't care if it's in France. If it's news, we're going to talk about it. We'll be talking about France soon. Trust me. Hint, hint, wink, wink. The Olympics are coming over the summer. Also on Saturday, I believe Saturday is the Kentucky Derby. That kind of snuck up on me, to be honest with you. I did not think it was going to be so soon. But this weekend, Kentucky Derby, I think it's the 150th Kentucky Derby. That's a lot. I'll say it again, same as I said yesterday. I don't understand the hype behind the Kentucky Derby. It doesn't make sense to me. It's just horses racing for 35, 40 seconds. I don't know how long it is. You got like 8 hours of TV coverage for a 30-second event. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm sorry. Just make it make sense. Somebody has got to explain this to me. I'm going to check it out. I'm going to watch, but I'm not going to watch the 3.5-hour pre-show. I'm going to watch the 1 minute where they go around the track and that's it. We're not talking about the Kentucky Derby today. I know. I brought it up first thing. You think maybe it's the Kentucky Derby special? No, definitely not. We got a lot of other important things going on, including high school lacrosse playoffs. We had games last night. Round number 2 is set. We have baseball coming up. We have women's soccer coming up as well. There are plenty of high school playoffs that are going to be going on not only today, but also throughout the rest of the month and into June. So on the 6th of May, we're going to get our brackets for baseball, as well as softball. And then on the 7th, the first round begins. For women's soccer, we get the brackets on the 10th, and competition begins on the 13th. Now, another thing to look forward to is actually coming up tomorrow, the men's tennis individual regionals. Day number 1 of that is coming up tomorrow on Friday. There are also going to be some lacrosse playoff games tomorrow. As yesterday, we had a lot of first round action, which is where we're going to start the show today. But before we get into it, I want to let you know what else we have on tap for today. We are going to start Kansas previews. We'll probably hear from a couple of NASCAR Cup Series drivers today as far as what we have coming up this weekend. We're also going to talk about the NHL playoffs. There is a story from the Rangers Hurricane series already that just makes me laugh. It's comical. It really is. The NBA was still going on last night with playoffs continuing. Some teams did not get eliminated, although it's a little surprising when you look at what's going on in the playoffs. And we're also going to see if we have time to update you on the Major League Baseball season. I mean, we've really been ignoring it for the start of the season, but that's because when you're looking at the year-long sports schedule, baseball season doesn't really begin until hockey and basketball end, in my opinion. Then we'll really be able to talk about baseball because it's the only thing going on besides NASCAR. And we'll have soccer, Charlotte FC. Although we just kind of got to hope that they have a good season this year. I don't know. They're a weird team, continuing to lose in the final seconds of games. I mean, literally stoppage time in the 90th minute. So there are a few surprises in the MLB season that we will discuss. But like I said, we're going to start with the high school lacrosse scene with some playoff games from last night. Now, what I'll say is for the 1, 2, and 3A conferences, everybody got a bye into round number 2. There are only 16 of the 32 slots filled in the in the West. Community School of Davidson tops that list with Eastern Guilford at the 16 seed. We also have Lake Norman Charter. They are a 4 seed. Pine Lake Prep, a 6. North Davidson, an 11. That's going to be a good game there. Number 7, Hickory. Number 10, Lincoln Charter. So we got some local schools going at it in lacrosse. These games will be coming up a little bit later this week. Most of them, I believe, are going to be scheduled for Friday, as that is Friday and Saturday, it looks like. So we will have some weekend playoff games for lacrosse. Some of these games already have a time and date. Others don't. What I do know is Community School of Davidson, the 1 seed, they will be playing their game tomorrow at 6 o'clock. And right now in the West, that is the only game that we have a time and date for. Everything else has not been announced quite yet. But I'm assuming we're going to have games Friday and Saturday as we are in the eastern part of the state. We don't really have to go over that too much. We don't know anything about the eastern part of the state. We know some names from like football season and basketball season. Some of the schools that have better programs. Like Terry Sanford is someone that I see in baseball or in basketball. They're a 15 seed though. They did win their round 1 game against Jacksonville. So the 1, 2, and 3A schools are going to be in action later on this week. Now, the 1, 2, and 3A might become a moot point here in the near future, as yesterday I told you about an update from the NCHSAA, where they said that they are expecting to have 8 divisions, where it'll be 1A through 8A, with 8A being the top division and only 32 schools in the division. That's interesting. I like it. Separate them more, get some more competition, more playoffs. More is always better, in my professional opinion. So here are the games of schools in the area that are going to be in action Friday and Saturday. Community School League Davidson and Eastern Guilford, we already told you about that. Christ the King over in Huntersville. They are a 5 seed. They'll be taking on number 12, St. Stephen's. Lake Norman Charter is a 4 seed in the 1, 2, and 3A bracket. They play number 13, Bradford Prep. Pine Lake as a 6 seed takes on North Davidson, the 11 seed, and number 7, Hickory, plays number 10, Lincoln Charter. Ooh, there are some good games there, I can tell you that much. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We have plenty more to go over when we return, including the 4A schools, the big schools, the ones that are, well, ranked nationally is how I'm going to put it. Yeah, there are some good schools playing in the 4A conference. We'll talk about that right after this. You're listening to The Scoreboard. Don't go anywhere. We're back after this.
More of Sports Director Joe Berg's The Scoreboard is coming up. 844 Studio 4. It's the Scoreboard on 1059 100.7 WSIC.
It seems to me like April, May, the word of the day is going to be playoffs because we have a lot of that going on. We've been talking about the high school lacrosse playoffs. Round number 1 completed last night. Look, if you like playoffs, this is the show where you're going to want to tune in. We're going to talk NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. I don't think there's anything else other than high school, NBA, and NHL. Baseball, we're way in the future before we have to worry about playoffs. But we have high school lacrosse to hold us over until then. We just went over the 1A, 2A, and 3A conferences. They are all grouped together in the same bracket. So there's only 2 different playoff brackets going on for lacrosse. We're going to move on now to the 4A conferences because there were a lot more teams that got bids into the playoffs in this. The first round is completed. So now we have all of our second round ready to go. Now in the West, the number 1 team is Charlotte Catholic. And let me tell you this. They have a player over there. Jack Ransom is his name. He put in 94 goals in 19 games. That's insane. 94 goals in 19 games. He was up there, the number 2 goal scorer in NC high school lacrosse. The number 1 scorer was Evan Cunell over at Western Alamance is what it's called. But for Charlotte Catholic, having the number 2 goal scorer on their team, it gave them the number 1 seed when it comes to the bracket. And not only are they the number 1 seed, they are the number 1 ranked team in the state of North Carolina. And they are the number 19 ranked team nationally. That is a wonderful program at Charlotte Catholic with the varsity boys lacrosse team there. They went 20-0 on the year. So Charlotte Catholic's first game is going to be against Davie because Davie was able to win their first round game 17-10. They won that game over Western Guilford. Charlotte Catholic, by the way, they had a bye into round number 2. It seemed like there were, like I said, there were more first round games in the 4A conference, but not everybody was playing. We did still have quite a few byes, and Charlotte Catholic was one of those teams. Another team that had a bye is number 8 Myers Park. They know who they're going to be playing now. It's going to be Ardrey Kell as they beat Sun Valley 16-6. RJ Reynolds East Forsyth, Marvin Ridge Northwest Guilford also playing each other. As far as locally, here's what you have to look forward to. Mooresville last night was able to beat Asheville 16-8. The 11 seed moves on to play the number 6 seed TC Robertson. That game is scheduled for Saturday at 6 o'clock. Number 7 Huff High School had a bye into the second round of the playoffs. Their opponent is going to be Reagan High School, who beat Grimsley 17-6. And then you have number 2 Lake Norman. Yes, number 2 in the standings. And not only number 2 in the standings, they are number 6 in the state of North Carolina and number 63 nationally. There are some, like I've been saying for the past, month? I feel like I've been saying this. There is a lot of talent in high school lacrosse, right in this general area. For some reason, it seems to be a hotbed for lacrosse right now. So Lake Norman being the number 2 seed, they play on Saturday as well. I would love to tell you who they're playing, but I have no idea how to say it. It's a school out of Waxhaw. Let's try this. Cuthbertson? The Cavaliers out of Waxhaw? I'm not sure. They're out of our listening area. We haven't been covering them all that much. We have been covering Lake Norman as the 2 seed, but that's awesome. 2 seed Lake Norman, number 7 Huff, number 11 Mooresville, all in this general area, will be competing in the 4A playoffs. As far as the East goes, everybody, it seems, had a bye, except for a few teams. You know what? I'll take that back. I didn't count them up, but it looks like there were about the same amount of byes and first-round games in the West as there was in the East. Our schools here, Lake Norman, Mooresville, Huff High School, they're in that Western Conference. So we'll be covering that. Round number 2 doesn't begin until Friday, and games are on Saturday as well. So we won't really be able to update this until Monday, but I would like to say good luck to all of the schools out there. And for you listeners out there, if you know somebody, or if you've been following a team, or your child, or you're someone who goes to a high school and your school is making a deep run in any playoffs, give me a call, shout them out. We'd love to hear from you. 844 4. That's 844-788-3464. Let's go ahead and change things up a little bit. We'll go to some things that are in the news from today. A few headlines here. Earlier today, there was a story, and this was like early this morning. Here's all I'm going to say. I'm going to read a little bit of the report. In a live recording of Cam Hayward's Not Just Football podcast from the Steelers draft party over the weekend, running back Jalen Warren said Smith suggested that Fields, Danny Smith, the special teams coordinator, suggested that Justin Fields, whom the Steelers acquired in March with a trade for the Chicago Bears, could return kickoffs with the rule change preventing players from moving until the returner touches the ball. We're going to have a quarterback. We're going to have a quarterback that's returning kicks. This is awesome. This is like some Arena Football League stuff right here. Man, I want to see it. I want to just to say that in all the turmoil and all of the controversy that is the kickoff, to just say that we watched a quarterback return a kick, that would be the goal right there. That would be awesome. And I don't think it's a bad idea. That's the funniest part. Like, Justin Fields is an athlete, and I don't think he's going to win the starting job over Russell Wilson over there. So why not have one of your most athletic guys and fastest guys be the kick returner? What's the problem? Oh, the injuries. Yeah, well, they're changing it so that it's not a running start anymore. Look, I still don't like the new kickoff rule. And don't come crying on the scoreboard in week 1 of the NFL season where you go, what happened? What was that kickoff? They lined up all weird. I told you about this. I've been telling you about this. So don't come crying to me when you don't understand what's going on. But the kickoff is weird this year. They changed it. It's no longer lining up on your side. Like, the line of scrimmage is one thing, and then you have the catching zone, and you have the kickoff line, and you have where the returner is supposed to set up. Like, it's a whole thing now. Anyway, now that you have an athlete back there in Justin Fields, I would love to see that. Put him in there for the kick return and just see what happens. Put him in there for the punt returns for all I care. Let's do it. The coddling of running backs, or quarterbacks, needs to stop. It does. They're athletes. They're playing football. It's a dangerous game. Every single NFL player understands what they are signing up for. They do. They understand. And yet they still go out there and they compete. Time to stop coddling the quarterback. Put one out there for the kick return. That's my message. This message has been approved by me, Joe Berg, host of the Scoreboard. Let's make it official. And it is official. Do it. Also in the news, if you've been watching basketball, you might know that Dame Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo for the Bucks have both been out for the series that they are in right now against the Indiana Pacers. Now, I didn't think that we were going to see such a good series here, but that's because Dame Lillard's missed a few games and Giannis has missed the entire series. Well, there's a little bit of a change here. Damian Lillard is now questionable, while Giannis Antetokounmpo has been upgraded to doubtful instead of out. No real difference between doubtful and out because they're more than likely still not playing. When they're doubtful, they're definitely not playing if they're out. But I wouldn't expect to see Giannis out there in this series. He's been dealing with a calf injury. He hasn't played since April 9th. It's been a while. It has. I got some other news stories here that I want to get to, both of them having to do with playoff tickets. Huh? Why am I going to be talking about playoff tickets? Well, you're going to want to stay tuned. I will explain, but you got to hang tight. You're listening to The Scoreboard. We'll be back right after this. Okay, hold on. This is the scoreboard. We're going to talk sports, but before we do that, I got to tell you a little story. Not a little story. It's quick. It's going to take 2 seconds. And then I have another unpopular opinion for you. I know. This is becoming the unpopular opinion show. Bring me back to January when the weather is 40 degrees, right? That was the first one. I was on Facebook just now. I went to Facebook to go share the video stream. If you don't know, the WSIC video stream is on Facebook, YouTube, X, LinkedIn, WSICnews.com, and the WSIC News app. So I went to Facebook to go and share the video, and I saw a photo of one of my friends over in the western part of the country eating In-N-Out Burger. In-N-Out Burger is terrible, horrible, disgusting. And that's all I'll say about that. You can be mad at me if you want. In-N-Out Burger, trash, absolute garbage, don't even bother. Anyway, that had nothing to do with anything, but I thought I'd throw it out there just so you know more of my unpopular opinions. That one I feel like is going to be very unpopular. Call me up if you disagree. You know, it's the scoreboard. We'll talk sports, but if you like In-N-Out Burger, like maybe I don't get it. And I'm telling you right now, if you call and you say, well, that's probably because you didn't get it animal style, I'm hanging up on you, because if you have to order it a certain way for it to be good, it's not good. Okay. I'm going to get off my soapbox here, come down from the hill. We're going to leave that hill there. And we're going to get back to news in the sports world. Yeah, sports. We have news about tickets. And this is not something that's normally in the news when it comes to sports, okay? But I think this is interesting. The 76ers and the New York Knicks will be playing Game 6 tonight, a little after 9 o'clock, if you were curious. The game is in Philadelphia. Here's the story. The owner of the 76ers and former minority owner Michael Rubin have purchased tickets for Thursday's Game 6 versus the Knicks in an attempt to block New York fans from once again overrunning the Wells Fargo Center. The Knicks fans were an overwhelming presence in Game 4, prompting Joel Embiid to express his disappointment with the Philadelphia fans. Okay. It's still a good thing that's happening. Let's make that clear. The owners are buying more than 2,000 tickets, and they are giving them to first responders, healthcare professionals in the Philadelphia-based area. So they're doing very good things with it. I'm not making fun of what they're doing. I'm not going to joke about that. That's awesome that you're giving free tickets to first responders and healthcare workers. I love that. It's awesome. I just think it's absolutely hilarious that they're doing it because they don't want to let New York fans in Philadelphia. Here's another story I heard. This game, the New York Knicks and the Philadelphia 76ers, is later on tonight at 9 o'clock. The Amtrak train takes you back to New York from Philadelphia. The last scheduled Amtrak train in Philadelphia tonight is 12 o'clock, midnight. They're trying really hard to keep New Yorkers out of Philadelphia, and I find that hilarious. I love when you see these stories of other fans just tanking the opposing team's stadium. We see it all the time in the NFL with the LA Rams. They have no home fans. It's basically an away home game for the away team. We don't really hear about it all that much in other sports, but this is the story out of the NBA. The owner of the 76ers buying tickets to keep the New York fans out. Not the exact same thing, but something very similar is happening in hockey. Here's the story. Rangers Hurricanes playoff tickets at PNC Arena are being restricted to fans in North Carolina. Meaning, here's the disclaimer. Upon purchasing tickets from the website, that Hurricanes website, that is. PNC Arena is located in Raleigh, North Carolina. Sales to this event will be restricted to residents of North Carolina, South Carolina, and southern parts of Virginia. Residency will be based on credit card billing address. Orders by residents outside of North Carolina, South Carolina, and Southern Virginia will be canceled without notice and refunds given. That's not going to do anything. Just going to let you in on a little hint here. This is just for the Hurricanes website. This has nothing to do with Ticketmaster, StubHub. I don't know. Where else do you get tickets? Game Time, all of those aftermarket tickets, resale tickets. It doesn't affect that. It's just for the Hurricanes website. Also, I don't know if you've been paying attention to the area of North Carolina lately, but there are a lot of people from New York who live here already. They'll be able to buy tickets. Here's the thing. The New York Rangers and the Carolina Hurricanes have faced each other 3 times in the past 4 years. The first time it was in 2020. If anybody remembers, that's when the NHL did their play-in tournament, which they got rid of, thankfully. It was after the season was cut short, right before the playoffs were. It was actually right before the trade deadline in the NHL. Early March, we were either just before or after the trade deadline. Teams were making their push for the playoffs, and the season shut down. They came back later, played it in a bubble up in Canada, and there was a play-in for teams that were close to the playoffs but didn't make the playoffs. The Rangers and the Hurricanes played each other in that qualifying series where the Hurricanes swept the Rangers 3-0 in a best-of-5. The second time, 2022, 2 years ago, Carolina and New York in the second round of the playoffs. In that series, Carolina had home ice advantage. It went 7 games, and in game number 7, Carolina laid an egg, and the New York Rangers advanced. So in the past 4 years, the series win is tied 1-1. Now, let me tell you this. In 2022, when I was there, I was at Game 7 for the Rangers-Hurricanes series in 2022. And they did the exact same thing in 2022 where they tried to restrict the sale of tickets to only people who live in North Carolina. I've never seen an arena for a playoff game have so many jerseys of the opposite team than Game 7, 2022, Hurricanes-Rangers. It's not going to matter. This is becoming a rivalry as the years go by. Every year it gets a little bit more intense, and this is going to add to it. We're going in another 7-game, probably a 7-game series. I expect this series to go 7 games, to be honest with you. And then we're going to have restricted ticket sales. You're going to have the people who live in North Carolina who are Ranger fans. They're going to be going to the game. The sales aren't restricted to them because they live in North Carolina. Their billing address is probably in North Carolina. So why are you restricting tickets? I just don't understand it. It's not going to do anything. There's still Ticketmaster, StubHub, Game Time. I don't know. There's so many aftermarket resale tickets out there that restricting it on the team website, it's not going to do anything. And by the way, we still have no idea when this series is going to start. Not a clue. Because the Golden Knights and the Stars and the Predators and the Canucks have not finished their series. Neither have the Kings Oilers. I'm sorry, Kings Oilers is done. Neither have the Bruins and the Maple Leafs. So here are the teams that have advanced already. The Colorado Avalanche and Edmonton Oilers in the West. They will not be playing each other. The Florida Panthers in the East will play the winner of Boston-Toronto, and we already have the matchup here for the Hurricanes. The New York Rangers and the Carolina Hurricanes will be taking on each other in the second round. This series is probably going to start late next week, maybe over the weekend, next weekend. We'll see. We still have plenty of games left before we end the first round. So we'll continue talking about the NHL playoffs as it comes and goes. And don't forget, In-N-Out Burger is terrible. Don't forget it. One more segment here on the scoreboard. Don't go anywhere. 844-788-3464. Call me up. We're back after this.
More of Sports Director Joe Berg's The Scoreboard is coming up on 105.9. Joe Berg on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Hey there, everyone. It is now the final segment on the scoreboard. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in today. 844 Studio 4, that is the phone number. If you'd like to reach out, chat with me, let me know something that maybe I don't know. I'll let you in on a secret. I don't know everything. I don't. Sometimes there's just things that I'm not aware of. And today is one of those days. I just had a call during the commercial break from one of the listeners here on WSIC, Brian. Thank you, Brian, for calling in. Brian wanted to know if I knew, and I told him I didn't know, that the win against Asheville for Mooresville High School men's lacrosse was the first ever playoff lacrosse win for Mooresville High School. I want to give a big shout out to Mooresville High School for getting their first ever lacrosse playoff win. That is awesome. I love to see that. And like I said, lacrosse is an up-and-coming sport here in the area, is what it seems like, because all of those athletes over there are good. And Mooresville is just adding to that. A 16-8 victory over Asheville yesterday. Big congratulations to Mooresville. First ever playoff lacrosse win for Mooresville High School. So big shout out to them. And thank you so much, Brian, for bringing that to my attention. I've been covering it and know what's going on. I just didn't know that they had never won a playoff game before. So that's awesome that we got our first win in the playoffs for lacrosse for Mooresville High School. So congratulations to them. Game number 2, looking to get their second win in the playoffs, is going to be against TC Robertson. Now, TC Robertson had a better season than Mooresville. In the first round, Mooresville was the lower seed. They were an 11 playing a 22. So let's see if they can keep that momentum running as they take on number 6 TC Robertson Saturday at 6 p.m. Congratulations, Mooresville High School. We're going to move into the NASCAR scene because the Cup Series, it doesn't stop moving. We head into Kansas this weekend. I let you in on the betting odds yesterday, where I let you know that Kyle Larson is currently the favorite. He still is the favorite at plus 380, with Denny Hamlin second at plus 400 and Tyler Reddick third at plus 600. Let's see. We're going to hear from one of these drivers. Let's see. Let's go with William Byron. Now, William Byron has something to say about the racing at Kansas, and it's been good racing recently at the Kansas Motor Speedway. If you've been able to check out the races over the past few years, Kansas is one of those races where the Gen 4 car, or the Gen 4 car, man, what is it, 2002? The Gen 7 car, the next gen car, has performed pretty well there, in my opinion. I think that it's been good. So let's go ahead and hear from Byron on why he thinks that the racing has been so good at Kansas.
Yeah, like the surface has obviously aged, and then I feel like we've had a lot of hot races there where it promotes a lot of sliding, around and fall off. So I just feel like it's one of those places that has fall off, and you start the race at you're maybe a second slower than practice. So it's one of those places that just promotes a lot of off throttle time.
And that's something that we've been wanting to see more at some of these tracks is off throttle time. I talk about it sometimes with the bigger tracks where it just seems like sometimes they can get into a spot where the track is driving decent and they are just full throttle all the way around, and there's no lifting, there's no car control involved. And this is something I talked about at Dover with the cars just being planted to the ground. So a hot racetrack and a worn out surface is going to help that. Now, to call the racing at Kansas good is correct. To say that it's great would be incorrect. It has been good racing. It's been about as good as it can be in this Gen 7 car, in my opinion. We're not going to get much better racing until they change something, whether it's less downforce, which I don't think is ever going to happen, or more horsepower, which there is a chance that we get more horsepower eventually. But that is what Byron has to say about why Kansas has produced such good races recently. And look no further than last year's spring race. The two favorites to win this weekend duked it out on the final lap. Yeah, it ended with Denny Hamlin wrecking Kyle Larson, but it was still a good finish. And all in all, it was a really good race. And I like Kansas. I do. It's been one of my favorite tracks for a while now. And I just wish they would do it at night more. Now, I understand why you don't want to have as many night races with this car specifically, because putting the sun on the racetrack heats up the racetrack, less grip, and like Byron said, more off throttle time. So I understand it, but eventually I'd like to get to a point where it doesn't matter if it's sunny, cloudy, day, night. The racing's going to be good regardless, but we're not there yet. Another driver, let's hear from Jimmy Johnson. Weird, right? Jimmy Johnson is racing at Kansas. He's racing a limited schedule to begin with, but why?
Running both Kansas events was intentional so that I can continue to build reps and help my own advancement along with technology for the race team as well. So I think we have a good plan for this year. Last year, our plan was really to focus on road course racing. We felt that was something we needed help with. Through the off season, we focused hard on mile and a halves and the performance that, gains that we hope to improve, and thought that running a third car, at least 9 events and on basically mile and a half tracks would help us develop and further as an organization.
So you heard it there from Johnson. He is a co-owner of that team, Legacy Motorsports. So him being in the car, what better feedback are you going to get than having a 7-time champion behind the race car? Nobody's going to give you better feedback than that guy. And, the road courses were something they focused on last year. Obviously, he's going to run Daytona, super speedways, things like that. But Kansas seemed like a weird one. But that answers the question right there. He is helping improve the Legacy Motorsports Club. I believe it's LMC, Legacy Motorsports Club. One of the, I don't want to call them back markers, because I feel like that's offensive. Not offensive, but just wrong. But they are. They're back markers. But when you have a 7-time champion driving for you, it's hard to say that. Anyway, we head to Kansas this weekend. Here's how the weekend schedule plays out at Kansas. Friday is nothing. I mean, if you want to watch open practice for ARCA, you got to go there. It's not being televised. It's not being broadcast on the radio. Saturday, practice and qualifying for ARCA is going to be in the morning. You're not going to be able to watch that one. But practice and qualifying for the trucks at noon and 12:30 will be on FS1. You'll be able to tune into that. At 2 o'clock, we'll have the Tide 150. That's the ARCA race. At 5:50, we'll have NASCAR Cup Series qualifying. And then at 8 o'clock, it's the Heart of America 200. That is the NASCAR Truck Series. And then on Sunday, the big show, the Advent Health 400. Coverage of that race is going to start at 2 o'clock, and you can listen to it right here on WSIC. This week, the race is broadcast by the Motor Racing Network, MRN, if you're in the know. On this day in 2015, Floyd Mayweather Jr. beat Manny Pacquiao on points in 12 rounds in the World Welterweight Unification fight. It shattered all financial records for a boxing match. And it seems like every big-ticket boxing match since then has shattered records after that. And we're going to have more. I don't even consider this real, but Jake Paul taking on Mike Tyson. That's a joke, in my opinion. Absolutely insane. 1999, John Elway announced his retirement from the NFL. Let's see. Can we squeeze one more in here? Oh, yeah. We got plenty of time to squeeze another one in here. Here we go. The 22nd NBA championship ended on this day in 1968. Boston Celtics beat the LA Lakers 4-2. That's one of those sports rivalries that is always going to be there. It's never going to go away. Boston and LA, they are always going to have a rivalry there. Coming up tonight, we have NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. The Hurricanes are not in action, so you don't have to worry about that. We'll get to Major League Baseball eventually, but like I told you, it's just not baseball season. It's still springtime. Baseball is a summer thing. Let's get to the end of the NHL and NBA seasons before we turn our attention to baseball. All right? We'll get there, though, I promise. Hey, one more time, congratulations to Mooresville High School for their first ever playoff lacrosse win. That is awesome. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in today. You've been listening to The Scoreboard. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. Don't be late. Have a great night, everyone. I'll talk to you tomorrow. See ya.